Hi there, my name is Adriana Hansen, and I've been asked to put together a little information packet of tips and tricks that I have used in the past for scheduling my son's hockey teams. I scheduled for probably about 6 different seasons between both boys, and it got to be great at the end, but was definitely a little nerve-wracking going in at the beginning. So if it's your first time, don't worry about it. Do your best, and if you're watching this, you'll come a little more armed than I did the first time that I showed up. Okay, you're welcome to use this or do another method that may work for you, but what I found was in a very busy scheduling meeting, flipping pages and trying to find months really quickly and having things and papers out of order happened really quickly. So electronically flipping, it didn't work as well for me to an electronic calendar because I couldn't see the entire season as it was unfolding and the balance of that season at a glance. It's easy to see each month, but because the months are offset, so for instance here's September and now you've got the 31st here and now you've got the beginning of October here, when you look at the next month on its own, you forget about that one weekend right before and how that ties into the next week and the balance of the schedule. For me, that was really important. Having a balanced schedule, it was better for the team, it was better for the families, better for coaching. Corrections could be done, practices scheduled in between games, etc. So the more balanced, the better. So I came up with what I call the toilet paper method, and I'll show you what that looks like. So what I do is I print out individual sheets, as you can see here, every month on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Just go onto the internet, Google or search up printable calendars monthly by the year that you need, obviously, and just print them off in individual sheets. And then what I do is I cut out the blank sections and I tape them together. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I've cut off the bottom portion of the September calendar and I'm going to tape it right onto the October calendar. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, and then I'm also going to add November and you can see how 3 months look. So what I do is put tiny little pieces of tape on the front, then I tape it to the October calendar from the front and it will cover up the words October. I line everything up so that the size and everything, it still is pretty tidy. Okay, so now that's attached at the front, but it's really not very well attached at the back, so I run a quick little piece of tape across the back just to hold that nice and firm. Okay, just hold that nice and firm. And again, it just stops things flipping around too much. You get very busy trying to look up, you start bending this over and trying to keep your area small. There's not a lot of room at the table when you're negotiating. And now it's a little bit more solid. It stays together a little bit better, and I'll show you when I've got November attached. Okay, so now you can see all 3, and if you're negotiating, you just fold it over and just look at the month that you want to see or whatever. Feel free to bend it, fold it, however works for you. But when you're looking for something really quickly, you can find that month and you can see how all the months run together. Now I'm just going to show you the next thing I do. Okay, so the next thing I do is I write the name of the month along the side so I can keep track of that. And another little quick thing to do is maybe write at the beginning of the month. You can write October, so it's just a double check depending on how your brain works, where you look for the information on the month. So now you've got all the months starting to run together. Okay, perfect. Next thing you want to do is you want to mark on the holidays, special days like Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, not really, I guess doesn't come into the season, but Thanksgiving, huge one people overlook all the time, Christmas, New Year's, etc. And you want to mark those on and basically show them so that you don't schedule something on before, I don't know, on that day, sometimes Thanksgiving, etc. or even just mark on the holidays for the entire Christmas season, so you know when the schools are out and when the kids are done school and when the kids start school, etc. So marking that on is important for your scheduling and understanding what people have to do and juggle their schedules with, and also marking on PE, professional development days, for the school, so the school holidays. So depending on if you're elementary or secondary school, you need to go online to look up those days. They're posted on the internet. So I mark those and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, and then the next thing I do is mark on things like tournaments that you already have scheduled. So you can see that I've marked it, those two areas, so we know the tournament's going to be starting here on the Thursday and it's going to be over by the Sunday. May or may not make it to the Sunday game, but but at least you know that that time is scheduled. And then you can also see I've got, like, I don't even actually know if it's the right date, but just mark in pencil Thanksgiving, so the weekend, so I just kind of do like a little arrow so I know that there's something on that time, and then like mark in a PA day. Again, it's information to know, may or may not break your schedule, but this is a solid date that you're not going to be moving, and these other ones are just information that you want to have in the back of your head, so if you're scheduling things that you can make a conscious effort in balancing the schedule and understanding that people may have obligations and family obligations as well, and trying to keep everybody happy as much as you can. Okay, so next up, you're going to take all this great packet of information and you're going to go down to your scheduling meeting. Scheduling meeting has typically, things may change, but from my past experience, the league will only allow one representative per team to come into the scheduling meeting. So you come armed by yourself. What they will do is they'll have everyone wait outside of the large meeting area or the meeting room, and they will open the doors at the designated time, and everyone will come in at one time, and then you will look around and there will be tables set up, and they'll be labeled with the division that your team is playing in, and then you go to that particular table, sit down, and I suggest that you take a couple minutes to introduce yourself to those around you. Usually you say what association you're playing with, so that when you're looking to speak to someone from a different association, then you already know ahead of time. The league will give you at that time the schedule for your association's home and away games, and the home and away games schedule is just a list of the number of games that you will play away versus another association, and the number of games that you will play at home versus another association. So for instance, if it's North Durham Warriors, that they'll be playing 2 home games against Whitby and 2 away games against Whitby. It could be that you're playing 2 home games and 1 away game, or a different, sometimes there's an odd number of games, home and away, and the league looks overall across all the different associations and makes sure that every association is essentially paying for the same number of home games, and that's why there's sometimes a disparity in how many away and how many home games you'll play versus another team. So once you've received that information, you may have already received the information from your association as to your game dates and times. And I would suggest that you don't put too much on your calendar. One of the things that I've done is just maybe, let's say, mark, the 24th and the 27th, like I do like a little circle to know that those are dates that are available that I can schedule for a home game, and that way at a quick glance I can kind of see where those times are. I don't want to write too much on the calendar because this is going to be basically what I'm using to understand my final schedule. So if you just mark those on there, you know that you can negotiate those times into your schedule. So let's say that you've got like those 2 as home ice times, and then you write in who you're playing against on those times, then you can see, okay, we've got 2 games already scheduled this week. I don't want to schedule any more this week. I want to push anybody off to schedule, so I'm not going to schedule an away game in here because that's too much with a tournament and then 2 games. That's my opinion. You may think differently, but then you just kind of try and even out the schedule, and you'll see as you go along that the schedule gets full very quickly. So trying to keep things even, and then knowing that you have practice times in between is important. Keep everyone happy. So once you've got all that marked in, they will basically have announcements and that at the beginning of the meeting, and then they will open the floor for everyone to negotiate their schedules. The only other piece of advice I can offer is when you're scheduling, and as you see your schedule developing, and let's say, for instance, a team will come to you and say, you know, and it usually happens right at the end of the scheduling meeting, I only have an ice time available to play you in Kingston on the 26th, and you're like, oh my god, like there's no way that I'm going to do a tournament and then 2 games that I've already scheduled, and now a Kingston away game, or I'm not picking on you, Kingston, but just a long distance from where I am, that, you know, that we're going to travel here and then play a game the next day. That's just too much. So that's when you look at your schedule and say, okay, well, you know what, right down here I've got like 1 game and nothing else. Okay, Kingston, how does that week look for you? And if that week, you know, doesn't look great, then you kind of keep moving on to any kind of blank spaces that you have in your schedule, and trying to find kind of a common date that would work for both. And then you basically, if it's an ice time that you're scheduling at their rink, then you say, can we go talk to your scheduler and see if we can get a time in that week for us to come and play you? And then that's kind of like your ace in the hole to try and get that schedule as even as possible. And I think that's about it. If not, maybe you'll have to email me or give me a call, and I can help out with any other questions or that you may have. Thanks.